All right, Marcus
agree.
Mariota. Currently the number one quarterback on the depth chart with the Atlanta Falcons. He said today that if they draft someone, I'll give as much advice and knowledge as I can. That's good. He understands his role. He understands his place if they do draft a rookie quarterback. And we see that every year. There will be a guy who gets signed, and then that guy ends up becoming the eventual backup when the rookie is drafted in round one, if that's what the Falcons do. Who knows what the Falcons will do? But, 1 year after Mike Vick moved on, they made Matt Ryan the third overall pick in the draft, and I suspect that Arthur Blank is going to want a new franchise quarterback. The question is, how do they feel about the guys who are available? And if not, it'll be Marcus Mariota until further notice. If he can stay healthy, that's my big question with him.
So I'm looking at three teams, Mike, in the situation. Atlanta with Mariota, Carolina with Darnold, and Pittsburgh with Trubisky. Do we think any of those three guys is the quarterback of those teams for the next 5 years? I would find it hard-pressed to think anybody thinks any one of them will be. So that's why it wouldn't be shocking for any one of those three teams to draft a quarterback. So if any of those three teams draft a quarterback, they would also be in a position to not have to put them in right away because they have those three guys I just mentioned, and they could let that quarterback, whoever is drafted, sit for a little bit and eventually take over. So that's why I say with Atlanta and Marcus and those other places, Carolina and Pittsburgh as well, I think those are three teams in a position to where they can kind of mix and match with their quarterback because they have a little bit of leeway with the guys they have under contract now. But I think fully knowing not one of those three guys I mentioned is going to be the team's franchise quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
The Falcons clearly will be doing something this offseason in addition to what they've already done. And, Mike, of the three guys you mentioned, I hate to say this because I don't believe it's going to happen, but of the three, I think Mitch Trubisky has the best chance of sticking around Pittsburgh because they have a great defense. They have Najee Harris on the front end of his prime years, and they could maybe get more out of Trubisky than what we saw in Chicago. And he went to the playoffs twice in Chicago. People just assume he's a bum. He's not. He's not. And sometimes guys go to a place to start their careers and it doesn't work. That doesn't mean they are forever done and forever regarded as not a good quarterback. It could be somebody else's fault, whether it's the coach, whether it's the GM, whether it's the owner, whether it's just the teammates, whatever it may be. There's always the possibility a guy's going to get better, and maybe it'll be Trubisky. But I don't think Mariota is anything more than a one-year option for the Falcons. The question becomes, do they make the move this year, or do they wait until next year, or do they make the phone call to the Cardinals to try to get Kyler Murray? I don't think that's going to happen, but if I'm the Falcons right now, I'm looking at any option I can to make my quarterback position better.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree. And I agree about Trubisky because you look at Mariota's been on a few teams, so he's had some chances. And for Atlanta, Sam Darnold, a lot of people said, well, he needs to get away from the Jets. And he did, and he couldn't hold on to it in Carolina. Not to say it was the greatest roster there, but at some point you got to still show what you could do, even if the team isn't that good around you. And so Trubisky, now he couldn't show anything, obviously, in Buffalo, being behind Josh Allen, and a lot of people put more on Nagy than on the Trubisky backers say it was more Nagy. Well, now he's going to get a chance because, as you mentioned, you got a hell of a running back. Hopefully your line will continue to get a little bit better, and you got a hell of a defense. So now we put more on Mitch. So I agree, of those three, Mitch, I think, is in the best position to say that last team I was with, that was a fluke. I'm not that guy. It will be better here. We'll see.
The New Orleans Saints, another team that may be thinking long-term at the quarterback position. They have Jameis Winston for now. And, the Saints have only ever used a first-round pick on a quarterback twice, Archie Manning in 71 and Dave Wilson via the supplemental draft in 1981. They've never even used a second-round pick on a quarterback. They've got two selections in round one after doing a trade with the Eagles a week or so ago. And Jeff Duncan points out that maybe if they go quarterback in round one, Kenny Pickett would be their guy. And Kenny Pickett's become kind of the mystery player in this draft. Is he going to be the first quarterback? Would he be top 10? Is he going to be top 20? He's got the hand size issue. The Saints would make sense because you're not playing in the elements at home, which could complicate a guy's ability to hold on to the football with wind and rain, etc. But it'll be interesting to see if the Saints would pull that trigger. They made that trade with the Eagles for a reason. They got those two picks now between 15 and 20. And maybe if Pickett is hanging around, that's a guy that they'll make a move on, Mike.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'm sticking with Jameis. So we signed him, to a 2-year deal. He's 28 years old. Again, I'm hanging on the fact that they kept the continuity of that coaching staff. Before he got hurt, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I know he's been a gunslinger and he's thrown interceptions, but he didn't throw them last year. So I'm not ready to take. I would use a first-round pick to help my team right now and see what we could do right now. I don't know if there's a quarterback I feel comfortable enough using that first-round investment on, like we mentioned those other 3 teams, Atlanta and Carolina and Pittsburgh. I do not put New Orleans with Jameis in that category. There may be a lot of people that disagree with me and don't buy into Jameis, and that's fine. I'm just going off what I saw with what he was doing last year and how he was growing in that offense last year before he got hurt. So they are nowhere near in the same category as me. And if I'm New Orleans in the first round, I'm not taking a quarterback.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.